WKXX is live for the fastest 2 hours in sports talk radio. Get ready for Chase Robinson.
He has got to be a player they can rely on in big situations.
And Gerhard Mathangani.
Has the trust of his team. Sounds like the makeup of his team is in a really good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
It is a football Friday. Welcome in to WKXX Live. Chase Robinson and Gerhard Mathangani along with you this afternoon. Get you ready for a big weekend. It all starts tonight with high school football. We'll have a day full of college football tomorrow. And then on Sunday, the pros take the field. So a lot of football coming up. We will preview it for the next 60 minutes. We are with you for 1 hour today, as we do on Fridays. And lots of great programming coming your way. We got the press box following us from 3 to 5. At 5, we'll have the Lindy's College Football Report. At 5:30 is Game Night, high school football preview show. And then we'll have Hoax Bluff football at 6:30 as Hoax Bluff heads to Westbrook Christian. And then coming up tonight following the game is high school football scoreboard. So great programming to carry you through from now until midnight. We are all football here on WKXX. Gerhard, big weekend, high school football tonight. I think it's going to be a pretty good night of football. I mean, we're into region play. We're good in region play now, and should be some good games.
Yeah, it's almost too early to start saying that quote-unquote game is a region championship or quote-unquote game is a region title game. But I think we're getting to the point where you're starting to see the picture a little bit more clearly about who the top four will be. Now, in certain regions, you'll have a different situation where, you'll need the games on the field to work themselves out, but you at least have a little bit about those teams to find out who you think might be first, second, third, and fourth in each region. And then there's some non-region games on the schedule as well, because we have some regions that have 6 teams, which means you have to schedule 5 non-region games typically, or a really stacked region, you only have a few of those. And so we're starting to see some non-region games sprinkle themselves into the region kind of window. I think most teams on the state are playing region games, but there are a few non-region ones, including a few here in our area that I find really interesting.
Yeah, and again, you will hear Hoax Bluff at Westbrook Christian tonight, 6:30 for the pregame show, 7 o'clock kickoff. And that should be an interesting game. Westbrook 3-0 on the year. They have they're undefeated on the season, of course, undefeated in region play as well, and getting a big win over Glencoe last Friday night. So we'll be out there at Westbrook Christian. Greg Watkins and myself will have that call tonight. But there's some interesting races when it comes to region play. I think of in Class 4A where you have Anniston and Hanley and Jacksonville. All vying there at the top. And I think of also in Class 4A, Aniana got a big win over Cherokee County last week. They're kind of leading their region. And so there's some really competitive regions across Northeast Alabama.
Yeah, there certainly are. I mean, you mentioned the one that I think is probably the most fascinating with the 4A Region 4, Anniston, Hanley, both undefeated on the season, both 2-0. That feels like a crash course, a collision course, I should say, for a region championship. But Hanley's got a great one today. One of the games I'm really looking forward to is a non-region contest, but they host Danny Horn, one of the state's most successful coaches ever, and the Clay Central Volunteers, who have a really good team once again this year. So that region 4 will be tough, and the non-region matchup today with Hanley will be really tough as well. Also, the Aniana region, or the region 6 with Aniana and Etowah, those two teams undefeated in that region there as well. Last year, 5A had just a lot of things that kind of moved, in and out, and we saw, early in this season, the resurgence of a really good Lincoln team. Lincoln took one on the chin a little while ago, but then can they start to bounce back as well? Went 2-0 to start the year, 0-2 now in the in region play. Leeds and Southside, meanwhile, as of right now in the region, both 2-0 as Southside today takes on St. Clair County. So we have lots of interesting storylines. If you go further north, I like what's going on in Region 7 as well with Arab, as well as Gunnersville, Scottsboro, all undefeated in regions play as well.
Yeah, so some good games. 3 games stick out to me when I look at the schedule. Arab Scottsboro. Arab sneaked into the top 10 this week. They're at number 10. Also, Pinson Valley at Oxford. We've seen some really good Pinson Valley Oxford games over the years. That is at Lamar Field there in Oxford. And then Dadeville at Welborn, both teams undefeated in the region. And so that should be a really good game out on the hill tonight in Welborn.
Yeah, most certainly. Those Calhoun County games are always usually always really fun, but some new blood, so to speak, coming into these regions. And with the region shakeup, we're getting Dadeville, Welborn, and we're getting Pinson and Oxford, games that we were seeing, but we hadn't seen here recently. So it's great to see it here tonight.
Let's go to the phone lines here this afternoon, and we welcome on Van. How are you today, Van?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing good.
Hey, Gerhard, did I hear you say yesterday you were friends with Luke Pruitt?
I am. Yeah, Luke's a good buddy of mine. I've known him for 20 years.
Yeah, Luke's my cousin.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, Daddy Dale's my first cousin, and he's my second. Him and Jeremy are my second cousin.
That's awesome.
But he's making Dad look bad this year. He's 3-0. Dad's going 3. Yeah, I text Dale about that, but I just always say, well, congratulate Luke. Better luck next week. I thought Dale was going to be back up at Marion in Tennessee.
Right.
And ended up going back to Plainview for the umpteenth time. So maybe he'll get it going. He's had some tough games.
Yeah, he's in a really tough region.
Yeah, Luke made 2 good comebacks his first 2 games. Got down and came back in the fourth quarter and won them.
For sure, yeah.
Who does physical play tonight?
Let me check on that. Just
I think they've got
sure.
Eider.
Yeah, but I believe it is Eider.
Eider.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a cousin on the other side of my family that played at Eider. Of course, he's old like me, a little bit younger than me, and played at Alabama.
Right.
Sammy Hood. He was a cornerback. That's on my mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some athletes. I ain't got offered to play junior college baseball, but I went on down to Alabama, so I didn't play.
Right.
But we have a large family. My dad had 11 brothers and sisters. My mom had 9. So
Oh wow.
got a lot of cousins that were good ball players,
Definitely.
good coaches. Yeah. Well, all right, the Braves, man. I wish we would give Mr. Olson a day off, but we got nobody else who can play first base.
I know it. He's not. He needs some
weird.
rest.
You know, Darno needs to learn how to play first base. You know, so a lot of catchers will go to first base when their knees get bad. So yeah, it would be good to give just to give him a rest, maybe let him DH or something, and get him back on track. Of course, my man Austin, he didn't have a good road trip either.
No, he didn't.
It'll be a tough game tonight because who they got Suarez pitching for the Phillies.
Yep.
He's pretty good. He's pretty tough too. So maybe Max can shut him down.
Yeah.
All right. That's about all I got. Of course, I'll be Roll Tide. You see Saban throw up the other day about talking about the strength of opponents.
I saw that. Yeah. You got to respect everybody.
Well, he still remembers that 07 game when he lost to Louisiana Monroe. He still got back. Yeah. All right, man. Y'all have a good weekend. Doing a good job.
All right, Van. Thank you so much. A small world there, Van. Van knowing one of my old college teammates there, and Luke Pruitt. And Luke's doing a fantastic job. He's got his team right now top 5 in Class 2A, and Van is one of few people that can text because he can joke around with Dale and Luke with who wins and who loses. But Dale's obviously enjoyed a Hall of Fame career, but Luke's doing a great job with the Eagles. Yeah,
what a coaching family there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But cool
That's
stuff.
Not even
there.
adding Jeremy, who coaches in the SEC.
Right? Yeah. Let's talk some college football now. And Van just brought up Louisiana Monroe in Alabama. Terry Bowden, he's been around coaching and has a chance to bring his Monroe team into Alabama. And like I've mentioned a couple of times, Rich Rodriguez, of course, the former offensive coordinator there at Louisiana Monroe, and I feel like most of the coaching staff is in Jacksonville now.
Right.
So Terry Bowden had to replace a lot of guys.
He certainly did, and he understands the challenge that it is. And Ram brought up the 2007 game and Nick Saban getting hot at his press conference earlier this week, and Terry Bowden also brought up that 2007 game this week, but he also put it into context. He said, all these guys that I have on my team were in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade when that game was played, and so he tried to deflect a little bit, obviously, but he obviously returns a really good team, and they huge underdog, obviously, to a top 5 team, and I don't think anybody's expecting UM Monroe to win, but I think people are expecting him to have a good showing.
Yeah, and you know what? You look back to last week, just all the upsets, and Coach even talked about that.
He did. He teed it up by saying, "Hey guys, all we have to do is just look at the last week and find out all these Group of 5 teams that beat Power 5 teams. We, in our own history, have it as well here at ULM, and he wants the guys to take a pretty confident approach based on what other Group of 5 teams did last week."
We just have to look at last week and see that anything's possible. I mean, we're not favored to be in this football game, but I don't think Appalachian State was favored to be in the game against Texas A&M, ranked number 6. I don't think Marshall was expected to be in the game against Notre Dame in Notre Dame. And I doubt Georgia Southern, who has a new coach coming off a bad year, was expected to beat Nebraska in Lincoln, and yet they did. And so you have to go in with the mindset that play our best game to the best we can do, and let things just happen as they happen. And so the main thing is our guys go in believing that, just go in there, I'm believing I'm going to play my best, and if the best is enough to pull an upset, that'll be fine. And so that's kind of how we're going in. So that's is where our players are now.
That was Terry Bowden, head coach of Louisiana Monroe, talking about those upsets last week. And, as we talked about, he is a former coach and, of course, spent time at Auburn, has had several other stops as well. And so kind of a homecoming for him coming back to the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned that in the same press conference and just talked about how, he will always forever be known as the Auburn coach. And yeah, I'm sure he'll get heckled a little bit, but he understands this game is not going to be about him, and how, the last time that he coached against Alabama, his players weren't born. And so it's a situation where, they can let the past be the past. And, all of us adults that remember that time, we'll talk about it. And of course, he'll probably get heckled by some fans and whatnot, but all the kids that are at the game, all the students that are in the student section, and especially the players in the field, none of them from either side really know about Terry Bowden and Auburn or much about ULM, Alabama from 2007. So the actual people that can make a difference in the game don't really care about much about it, but it's good talking points for all of us.
Yeah, sure. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jeremy is on with us. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. The only way those players know anything about that Auburn era with Tommy Bowden is if they were friends with Bo Nix, because they probably hear about it all the time from his dad.
That's very true.
He was an Auburn coach, and afterwards, he did a little stint at Sanford, I do believe.
Yep, he did.
I sat and watched some interviews with him when he was there, and it seems like over time it seemed like he was a little cocky at Auburn when he was there. And now it seems like he kind of seems more like his dad in the aspect of the way he approaches these ball games. And, he's not going to come out and say this, but he knows what he's getting into this weekend. He knew what this game was. And to me, the difference is a lot of these teams do this for the paycheck.
Right.
They're going to get that. They want that. They need that paycheck, because it don't just help the football program out. They spread that amongst all the other athletics at their college. Mm-hmm. And if it's not for that one game, then girls volleyball might not be happening that fall, or different other athletics. So I applaud the bigger colleges and in the fact that they do spread it, or, try to help spread the wealth a little bit. But you have the teams like Appalachian State, and they have built a program up there that, to me, is probably, once we do this separation, once we get the big schools out and get them into the playoff and get them into the mega conferences that we were talking about, you're going to hear about Appalachian State winning another national championship. You're going to hear about Marshall playing for a national championship. So I think I think these teams like this, I really wasn't surprised when Texas A&M got beat by them, because that's a scrappy football team. But on the other end, I don't think Louisiana Monroe has had that as much consistency as Appalachian State has.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I agree with that as well. And honestly, to Jeremy's first point about Terry Bowden, he has gotten you could hear it in his voice. He does sound a lot like his father, Bobby Bowden. Sounds a lot more gracious. I think at Auburn you have to put a bravado on because you're the de facto smaller school. But he did. I mean, I listened to his whole 30-minute press conference earlier this week, and he even said we're the less talented team. We're a huge underdog. But he wants his team to go in the right mindset. It just seems like he's coming from a good place. So that's a good point by him. But yes, but Appalachian State, if there is a big split from the Power Five and the Group of Five, I can see App State dominating.
Oh, yeah. And the thing with him, too, this I wanted to make this point about, I think that he would make a great coach in the level back up into a Power Five team again. Just to be honest with you, because he does have a great mind for football.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought that we were going to see him become a Saban assistant a few years ago, but he took the Louisiana Monroe job.
Right.
And I think he did that because he wanted to. I think he didn't want to fall into that. He's a transplant, or he's being saved by Saban, or whatever,
Right.
But I honestly do think that we could see him maybe out in the Pac-12 somewhere, see him at a Big Ten school. I mean, I'd love to see him back in the game again at a bigger school, because I think he does have the mind. I mean, he had between Tommy, Terry, and his dad, Bobby, that's a college football genius bar.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you have any questions about what to do in a college football game, and that's your supporting cast, you know what I mean? You had that. You grew up with that father. You grew up, in a rivalry against your brother because he coached too. So, he's probably forgot more about college football than a lot of these guys walking around right now that think that they know everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I might try to push Chris Kleeman out the window, or out the door, but a place like Kansas State, I think, would be good. In a place that took in Coach Snyder for a really long time. A place like Minnesota, where if PJ Fleck were to take a bigger job, you're right about Terry Bowden. I could see him back in the Big Ten, almost like a head coach emeritus kind of role, and taking over a program, hiring great assistant coaches, and kind of being the face of it.
Well, and it wouldn't help him to be at one of these schools that need it now,
right?
That need the instant gratification. The instant gratification teams are not for coaches like him,
right?
Because he'll be gone in a year. And to me, that's what Auburn is. Auburn's an instant gratification team. They've got to have success in your first year. You cannot build your program before it's they're flying in guys from other colleges, and
literally.
Yeah, and so I just honestly think that he'd make a great coach at that level again. And he would make a coach, but it would I think Kansas State would be a great decision, because they have shown that they are faithful to their coaches.
Yeah, really,
they'll
patient.
give them the time to build. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, guys, y'all have a good one. I'm looking forward to football this weekend. I'm so glad it's back. But go Braves! I mean, we need a good weekend. We need a good weekend.
We sure do. Sure do.
I think we're going to get it. Hey, let me tell you, I went to a Trash Pandas game last night.
How was that?
Best experience at a ball game. They played the Barons, and I really hope that the Barons watched what they did there. The atmosphere, the experience all around, it was great. And I kind of got myself caught up last night. They sell baseball bats, and they fill those baseball bats with beer. And so the pitcher for the Trash Pandas was extraordinary last night. He had like 11 or 12 strikeouts. Well, it was seventh inning before they pulled him, and he had struck the first two guys out in the inning. And I yelled at him and I said, "Hey, 3-5, you strike this guy out, and I'm killing this baseball bat full of beer." And it was full. And he then proceeded to strike out the third batter, stand at the front of the pitcher's mound, turn and look at me and shrug like, "You gonna do it?" So I had to do it. But it was fun. It was a great experience, man. Minor league baseball. If you never go, you need to go.
You can't beat it.
It's a great experience. The major league games are fun. They're great and everything, but it's more of a fan experience at the minor league games, and that was such a blast. I can't wait the next year and get to go to more games, and it was great. I had a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, you don't get that back and forth in the major league level, so it's great to see it before they get to the major league level.
No, I'd love to be there today and go, "Hey, Max Fried, I'll chug this beer if you strike out this guy." All right, man. Well, you guys have a good one. Roll Tide and go Braves.
All right, go Braves. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks,
Thank you,
Jeremy. Let's jump to a break here. We will be back with more here on WKXX Live on a Friday.
Being an Army
WKXX Live here on Fox Sports 102.9. Chase and Gerhard with you until 3 o'clock today. 1 hour Friday show as we do every week. So we've got a lot to pack in here over the next 30 minutes or so. Let's take a trip around the SEC now. And only 2 in-conference games this weekend. We'll have a lot more of those next weekend. But one of those, Mississippi State at LSU. And then you've got number 1 Georgia at South Carolina. But looking at Mississippi State, LSU, they've got Mississippi State at a 2.5-point favorite. I think that shows it's going to be a pretty good game. It's in Baton Rouge, and you know, I think this could be a fun game to watch in the SEC.
Yeah, certainly. You think about this game in Death Valley. How far has LSU fallen? Where night game in Death Valley, or it's a 5 o'clock game, so the sun will set, probably during halftime, third quarter. So essentially a night game in Death Valley against Mississippi State, and the Bulldogs are the favorite. That lets you know just how much LSU has fallen over these last few years. However, Mississippi State looks pretty good in their first 2 games. They have an NFL-type quarterback in Will Rogers, and in my opinion, this will be one of the games where I think that LSU can bounce back. I won't be a bit surprised, though, if Mississippi State wins. Like I've said before, I think this is the hardest game to handicap going into it. I just don't know how Mississippi State is going to handle that crowd, and I really don't know what the crowd will be like after, a subpar performance in week 1 and then, doing what they needed to do last week against Southern.
Yeah, and so Mississippi State at LSU, Georgia at South Carolina. Now, I know South Carolina is an improved team. You got Spencer Rattler in at quarterback. Year 2 under Shane Beamer, but I mean Georgia's on another level. South Carolina is better, but I mean Georgia's just elite.
Yes, they are, and I think they're one of those teams where it's kind of like Alabama was last year, where you see the 24-point spread and you think viably it could be 30. Yeah, and it's really tough, especially at South Carolina, who has a quarterback that has retooled his game a little bit, and you have a system and a team that believes in themselves. Yeah, and they create a really tough environment to play in. And Georgia's still over a 3-touchdown favorite. It's going to be hard for me, I think, to take Georgia against the number, but I mean, I think Georgia's way too elite right now in this game.
But I think something important to look at this game is, can South Carolina compete? Right. I think that we'll learn a lot about South Carolina and how they approach this game. It is at South Carolina, a tough place to play, but I want to see how they respond, how they play, how they react in tough situations, because I think that'll give us a good indication of kind of where Shane Beamer has this Gamecocks team.
Exactly. Does and I hate to use this pun or joke, but does Spencer Rattler get rattled when things go against them? Because Georgia's going to create negative plays. That's just what they do. One of the bad things that happened at Oklahoma, why Spencer Rattler lost his job there, is because he would make one mistake into 3. But they throw Caleb Williams in there because they trusted the quarterback. Can you trust Spencer Rattler? They think so. He's a good enough talent as far as arm talent goes, but we'll see if he can get it done at home. It's a great atmosphere, though, at Williams-Brice.
Another game is Ole Miss at Georgia Tech. Now, there's a battle for the quarterback position still going on for Lane Kiffin. Luke Altmaier, Jackson Dart. Who's going to end up being QB1, I think, is the big question. To me, you want to find that out before you get into SEC play. And so tomorrow is really the time to find out who's going to be your number 1 guy.
Yeah, and those from the outside looking in say the same thing. And they think that Lane Kiffin is using this as the measuring stick game to find out. Now, Lane has been so coy about this since the beginning of fall camp. I feel sorry for all those reporters in Oxford, Mississippi, lining up all these questions about who the starting quarterback is going to be, because Lane is just going to kick that can down the road and just talk about how good both players have been and how, both Luke Altmaier and Jackson Dart have played well. They both have, things that they like and things that they don't like. I think Lane is so confident in his ability to coach that position. He thinks it doesn't matter who it is. He just wants the best person for the team.
As you really analyze things, there's some things where they could have done better read-wise, and then you always analyze, or I do, as a coach, what could we have done better. And a few of the things were, maybe in 2 minutes that we hadn't had a lot of reps at. they hadn't seen all the different looks that happen. And when you're a young quarterback, you don't have any storage space, of years playing before of things happening. So, but I think, one of the things you don't notice is they do manage the game as far as, like, for us, we're different than a lot of teams, where you just huddle and say a play. Like, you got to have tempo. You got to memorize things from the signals to give to the line, that aren't in the signals. So there's people think it's really easy to play in up-tempo systems, and some probably are, where you signal everybody what to do. We've done that before, but we don't do that nowadays. So there is a lot on the quarterback, and they've done well with that.
That was Lane Kiffin talking about those quarterbacks that he has. Luke Altmaier, Jackson Dart, competing for that top spot. So Ole Miss taking on Georgia Tech. Let's look at some other notable games heading into this weekend. And one of those is happening a couple hours south of us down in Auburn. It's Penn State, number 22, comes into the Plains as a 3-point favorite. This is a big game from Brian Harsin and the Auburn Tigers.
Certainly is. I think it's a make or break kind of game for this Auburn program. Given just how much things fell last year, they need a real shot in the arm. And beating Mercer by 1 million is not going to do it. And of course, not covering against San Jose State is not going to do it either.
Yeah.
You need a win against a Power 5 school. And you more than likely don't want to wait until it's the Missouri game that comes around. Or let's just say LSU gets beat by 20 or gets beat by 10 against Mississippi State. Well, if Auburn beats LSU, does that game feel as good? It doesn't. Yeah. So this game is a real shot in the arm, I think, for Auburn. It was a one possession game last year. Can they eradicate some of those mistakes and make it a little bit better, a little bit closer this year? I think is the question.
And I think I know Auburn wants that crowd to be into it tomorrow. The crowd was into it at Penn State last year, and I think that helped the Nittany Lions out. Auburn's a tough place to play. Can they make it tough on this Penn State team?
I think they can. Auburn can do it. The only thing that Auburn needs to do is make sure that Penn State doesn't try to grab the momentum and drag that thing into a sewer by running the football. So it's on Auburn to be able to create that, but if you can get third and long situations, if you're the Auburn defense, then that Jordan-Hare crowd gets into it. Can't get down early. Vegas is not predicting a large scoring game anyways. Over-under is just 48 points. So points will be at a premium in this game. And so we'll find out. But I think whoever takes control of that crowd is the key. And I think Auburn will have a chance to do it early.
Another notable game, Miami, number 13 at number 24, Texas A&M. They've got A&M, a 6-point favorite, but here's this. Max Johnson is going to be starting at quarterback for the Aggies.
Yeah, this line has been interesting. It's only tricked up this entire week, no matter about, the news about Miami's receivers, the news about the starting quarterback at Texas A&M. All of that has not shaken the line in the other way, with the way I thought it would go. I thought it would go to the number 1 higher seeded team, the higher ranked team, number 2, the undefeated team in Miami, number 3, Mario Cristobal, who seemingly has this program going off on the right foot, and number 4, against the team that we just saw lost as a 19-point favorite in Texas A&M. I really can't speak for what Vegas is doing. However, we'll see if Max Johnson gives this Texas A&M offense a shot in the arm. A lot of people think that they should have gone to him in the first place, and we'll see if that's the case after tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think that could be a really, really fun game to watch. You've also got BYU at Oregon. BYU with a big win last week. They're number 12. Oregon 25. They kind of want to get that loss to Georgia out of their minds, out of everybody else's mind. It wouldn't surprise me if they shocked BYU.
And this is the game where they think they can do it. It wasn't going to be last week when they played an inferior opponent. It'll be this week when another team in the top 15 meets the Ducks. This time, not in Atlanta, but this time at home in Eugene, Oregon, which is a sneaky tough place to play when they're rolling. And I think they gave the Duck fans enough to come out, enough to cheer about. And if the Duck fans stayed up last week and watched that BYU game and looked at the energy that they brought to that game in their big win over Baylor, if the Ducks can match that intensity as far as from a fan perspective, it'll make life really tough on the Cougars. And I'm with you. I think Oregon can win that game.
Another interesting game is number 11 Michigan State at Washington, and they've got Washington a 3.5-point favorite in this game.
Yeah, this is the other. There are three games that you tend to look towards the underdog. I think the underdog will be the public favorite going into three different games. The public will like Miami, in my opinion. The public will like BYU, in my opinion, based on what we saw last week. And I think the public will like Michigan State. Well, they say they don't build these multi-million-dollar casinos because of winners. They build them because people lose, and Vegas knows something. This is the other game that I think that the public will be on Michigan State. And I don't know if I blame them. I think that Michigan State is the right side on this one. I could be dead wrong, and Washington go out there and win it by 10 points. But as of right now, I like what Mel Tucker's done with this Michigan State offense.
Yeah, so do I. I think Michigan State has a good chance of going to Washington and winning. Then you got Fresno State at number 7, USC. USC a 12-point favorite, but the folks over in Vegas, as do I, think that a lot of points are going to be scored in this one down in Southern Cal.
Yeah, 74 is the over/under number, and I won't be a bit surprised if that hits. One of the things that I think about this USC team that we've yet to see them play a really good offense, and this will be the first really good offense that they play, and that's the reason I think the number is so high there at 74. Now we'll see if Fresno State can play enough defense to hold off what Lincoln Riley and company do. I don't think they can, but yeah, that's an interesting number to me. It's just under 2 touchdowns for a team in the group of 5.
So those are some interesting games to watch coming up tomorrow in the world of college football. We'll get to a little NFL coming up. We'll hit on a little Braves if we have some time, more college football. All that is ahead on this 1-hour edition of WKXX Live. We'll be right back.
GH Metal Solutions.
WKXX live on a football Friday. We've talked high school. We've talked college. Let's jump into the pros. They'll hit the field for week 2 on Sunday. And we'll be, had a game under our belt last night as the Chiefs got a 27-24 win over the Chargers. Was that surprising to you how close it was?
And not surprising how close. I thought it'd be a close game because their last game was really close, but it was the way that it played out. Chargers got out to a nice lead. Mahomes and company came back, and then Justin Herbert came back. He injured his rib and, was able to come back all the way to the very end there, and then threw a pick 6 at the 1-yard line, took it back. And I think that these two will have 2 great games inside the division, and I think both teams are playoff teams as long as Herbert stays healthy.
Yeah, let's pick some games now, though. Let's get to the fun part. We did this last week, So what does it look like from last week?
All right, so after last week, and it's a lot like what happened in college football, except in reverse. You dominated college ball. I had a little bit of a better weekend in the NFL last week. We both had the Seahawks on Monday, so we both lost that game. So after last week, you are 6-8. And I am 9-6 after the last week. We picked 15 of the 16 games. Didn't pick the Thursday night game last week. So we're back on board here for week 2 going into this week. And we also picked games. We picked every game straight up and then 3 of our favorite sides against the spread. Against the spread, you went 2-1, getting Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and losing Jacksonville. I also lost Jacksonville as well as Carolina, but won Detroit. So I went 1-2 on last week's game. So we'll get to the card this week. First game up is the New England Patriots at the Pittsburgh Steelers. New England is a 2-point favorite despite being 0-1.
I'm going to pick the Steelers in this one. And Mac Jones has been questionable this week.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers get this one.
Yeah, interesting line here. I will go with the Patriots, and I know you'll call me a homer, but the fact that they're favored in it, I think Vegas knows something that we probably don't. Jets at the Browns. The Browns a 6.5-point favorite.
Let's see. I'll go with the Browns, the home team.
Okay. I like Cleveland as well. Yeah, I like Cleveland. The Jets to me just aren't there yet without their lead QB. I'll go with Cleveland there as well. How about the Washington Commanders in Detroit against the Lions? Those pesky Lions almost came back last week. The Lions are a slim 1-point favorite at home.
I'm gonna take Washington. I'll get the Commanders in this one.
I'm gonna go with the Lions. I like their fight last week, and I think they'll be able to cap them off. Even though the Commanders are a really good team. Panthers at the New York Giants. The Giants at home, a 2-point favorite over Baker Mayfield and the Panthers.
I'm gonna take the Giants. I like what Brian Dable's doing up there. Got a good win against Tennessee last week. I think the Giants roll again.
There's a part of me that wants to say that. You know what? I'm going to go with it. I'm going with Carolina. I'm going with the Panthers. I think that, last week it was a heartbreaker. I think they get back on track this week. A rematch of the Week 17 game that kept the Colts out of the playoffs. The Colts going to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Colts in that game are a 3-point favorite on the road.
Yeah, they haven't won or lost yet with the tie last week. Let's see. I'll go with the Colts.
All right, I like Indy, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. I know I picked them last week. That was one of my losses, but I'm gonna climb right back on board, and we'll see if they can get it done. The Buccaneers going to the Saints. Both teams are 1-0. Buccaneers are a 2.5-point favorite on the road in New Orleans.
I'm going to go with the home team. I think the Saints.
Right.
They got a lot of energy from last week's win over Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think they'll continue it.
Tom Brady has struggled really badly against the Saints in so many games. I think this is the game that he ends up getting it done. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in that contest. Last game of the noon slate, the Dolphins and the Ravens. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, a 3.5-point favorite against Tua and company against the Dolphins. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Miami.
All right, to get the road win. They're in Baltimore in that one. I got to go Ravens. Obviously after last week, I think that the Ravens, are rolling right now. Falcons, heartbreaker last week. And then they get the defending Super Bowl champions in the 3:00 window. Falcons against the Rams. Rams a 10-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams as well. I just don't think that if you lose that game in a dome, you'll be able to go across the country and win. Okay, Seahawks to 49ers. Seahawks on the short week playing the Monday night game at San Fran. San Fran lost last week to the Bears. San Fran's 8-point favorite. Who you like?
I'm going to go San Francisco. I'll take the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, I like the fight last week from Seattle, but I'm with you. I'll take the 49ers as well in that contest. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals against the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams 0-1, and the Cowboys with the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bengals in this one. They get the road win.
Yeah, there is the theory called the next man up theory, and I don't know if it plays here. But just to be contrarian, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Yeah, I think that for 1 week without Dak, they'll be able to get it done. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. In the next game in the 3:00 window, we got the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. Broncos, obviously 0-1, losing last Monday night to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Broncos. I think they get it done this week. It's they're at their home field. Texans, I'll go with the Broncos.
Yeah, and Broncos are a big favorite for a reason. I'm going the Broncos as well to avenge that loss last week or on Monday night, even though they have the short week. Another in-division game. This should be a great one. Cardinals and Raiders. This is at Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is a 5.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, I really like what I saw really from both teams last week, despite both teams losing. I think I'll go with the Cardinals. I think I'll go with the Cardinals on the road there. I like Arizona in that contest, and you like Las Vegas. And then the Sunday night game. It's a game. It's a division game. Bears and Packers. Bears 1-0 after beating the Vikings. After beating the 49ers last week.
It's at Lambeau. I'm gonna go with the Packers.
Yeah, and the Packers are 10-point favorite. I would love to go contrarian on this one, but I just don't trust Aaron. I just don't trust anybody can do anything to stop Aaron Rodgers after a big win. There's a doubleheader on Monday night, which Monday night should be really fun. Titans and Bills, that should be a great game. Bills back at home, another 10-point favorite. You don't see a lot of 10-point lines. This is a third one so far.
You know, I hate picking against the Titans.
Yeah,
I like the Titans, but I've got to go with the Bills.
Yeah, I like the Titans as well. As far as I like them to cover the number, but I like the Bills in the game there. So I'll go with Buffalo in that action. And the final game, Vikings and Eagles. Both teams 1-0 after a win last week. This game is in Philadelphia, and the Eagles are a 2-point favorite.
I'm going Philadelphia in this one. I like the Eagles.
Yeah, I really like what I saw from the Vikings, but I don't trust Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. So I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles as well. How about the three games that you like as far as on the side against the spread?
I took the Steelers last week. I'm gonna do them again. Take the Steelers, the Commanders, and the Saints.
The Steelers, Commanders, and the Saints. All right. And I already said, I kind of gave a hint earlier. I really like the Titans to cover that 10 points against the Buffalo Bills. And even though the Bills look insanely good, I like the Jags to win outright, even though the Colts are the favorite. I might just, hit myself again next week for doing that one. And then I think my third one will be the Detroit Lions, because it's a 1-point game, it's a 1-point favorite.
Yeah.
I don't see that game landing one and me pushing. I'll just go with Detroit to win it by more than one. So I'll go with the Lions in that contest.
All right,
against the spread there. So yeah, we off to a nice start here in the NFL. We'll see if we can keep it going.
Yeah, we'll see next week how we fare as we get through week 2 of the NFL. Before we get out of here, let's talk a little baseball, because the big series begins for the Braves in this 3-game weekend series in Truist Park against the Phillies. 19 games left in the regular season. Phillies in the wild card, second spot behind the Braves. They've been on a roll, 7 in their last 9.
Yep.
This series makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, I think it really should, because in the exact same frame where we saw this tidal wave coming when the Braves were catching the Mets, I think the Mets are doing the exact same thing to the Braves, except for that first wild card spot. So we should have a really interesting little series here. And this one is more interesting because, do you remember a few weeks ago when we had about a 2-week stretch where the Mets and Braves have played each other like 9 times, 7 or 9 times. We're about to get that exact same situation here as the Phillies and the Braves close out their series. They've played 12 games so far. There's 19 division games between opponents, 7 games left. Of the next 10 days, they'll get all those 7 games in. They'll get really familiar with one another. This will be a really interesting series, and then the next one should be interesting as well.
The last win over Philly was on August 2nd, 13-1. The Braves won that. You got Max Fried on the mound for the Braves. You've got Ranger Suarez on the mound for the Phillies. Max Fried is the guy that I would want on the mound. But he's got to be able to go deep in the game. He's got to have a good game.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, he really needs to go deep. Spencer Strider said this when he went 8 the other day. You know, all the starters right now, I think they really need to help save the arms of the bullpen and take some pressure off of Kenley Jansen. I really think that's another part of it too. Braves bats need to get hot. The games with which they're losing, they're averaging around 2 to 3 runs a game. We always know that 5 number, it's been their magic number this season, especially in the second half of the year. If they can get 5 or more runs, they've played pretty well. So if Max can stay in for a long time and the bats can really help out, Van talked about it earlier, they need some of these bats that have stepped up, Olsen, Riley, and others, to step up again. I think it's a total team effort there starting on the hill.
Yep. So that series begins today. You'll hear that Sunday right here on Fox Sports 102.9. We got football tonight. We got football tomorrow night as Jacksonville State will be on the air 5 o'clock tomorrow night, 6 o'clock kickoff. We'll have the college kickoff show tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock. Gerhard and I will be back for another hour to get you set for the day of college football tomorrow, again from 9 to 10 on the college kickoff show. Coming up next, we'll have the press box from 3 to 5. We got the Lindy's College Football Report from 5 to 5:30. We've got game night with Jeff Allen and Jeff Milwee from 5:30 to 6:30. I'll be back at 6:30 with Oaks Bluff High School football, and then Jeff Allen will have high school football scoreboard following the game until midnight. So a full night of high school football ahead, some college football coming up tomorrow, and what a great week it's been. Right here on WKXX Live. We appreciate you for joining us. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the high school, college, and pro football. We'll be back with all the reaction coming up Monday. Have a great weekend.
Hello, Eagle fans. I am Pastor Eddie Gooch, and all of us here at Hope